Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and this video is going to be a little tongue-in-cheek, but the reality is it is very, very true, and it is a model we've seen produced over and over and over. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. And this was shared on my the Facebook fan page for this channel, and a person put this up, and it's how to succeed in fitness, and it's a 4-step thing, and I'm going to break this down of why this works so well. And it's funny, and most people know this, but we need to look at it because it is kind of serious. Step number 1, take steroids. Take steroids. Yeah, absolutely. Because the reality is the standards that have now been set on the internet, the standards that even be on the cover of a magazine, usually require hefty doses of drugs. And it's not just about the size. It's about obtaining a certain amount of leanness while still being full instead of looking completely stringy and flat and everything else. Drugs are usually involved in that in some way. It's not like people can just rip down and get ultra ripped and lean and maintain full round muscle bellies. It's very, very difficult to do. Drugs become involved, and generally the most aesthetic changing drugs. People have this idea that everyone who goes on drugs just automatically is going to look good irrespective of genetics or what drugs they take, and that's not actually true either. There's still a dietary component, and there are different drugs that do better than others. Most of the guys who want to look good, though, they're going to take Trenbolone. All right, Tren, that is the number one thing guys take who don't want to spend a fortune, who don't mind some side effects, and they need to very, very quickly start to look a certain way. But I will point out the side effects can be pretty serious on this particular compound. Pete Rubish did a long video on that, and I backed him on that. The problems that you can have as a result of using this stuff. But that's what people do. They take steroids because that is now the natural standard. All right? And the reality is they're going to have to take a decent amount of them to get that certain look. Not always a lot, but a decent amount. Now, step number 2, you claim natty. Claim natty. Why do you claim natty? Well, because look who admits to taking steroids. Everyone has this idea, even though people go to gyms, and you see people all the time who are like, well, I know a guy on roids, he's not that big, he's not that ripped. I know 7 guys who are like that, right? People can't make that disconnect between guys they see in the gym and realizing that in the internet. And so everyone who usually admits to using anabolics on the internet is usually huge and ripped. Or they might be huge and people don't even always realize it because they haven't seen them side by side next to other people. They don't have the certain look they want because of proportions, genetics, leanness. So they may not realize that. But the claiming natty is necessary because everyone who admits to it is generally pretty massive. So people who admit to it have to take a hell of a lot more drugs. Meaning someone can't walk in and use 500 milligrams a week and then go on the internet and admit to using gear because they don't look like the guys who use huge amounts. They don't look like Rich Piana. They don't look like Mike O'Hearn. Well, would you expect anyone to look like Mike O'Hearn? Or even Mike Rashid on 500 milligrams? Of course not. Of course not. Some of these guys are using a lot of drugs, a lot of Tren, growth hormone, everything else. Some of these guys have $1,000+ a month drug bills who run around claiming natural. And that's some of the guys who are really impressive claiming natural. So the thing is, if they've got drug bills that high, you damn well can't admit to drug use unless you're willing to spend $1,000 or more on drugs a month, or use massive amounts of testosterone or something, which is cheaper. But you're going to have to be really big if you want to admit to using anything. So by people claiming natty, they fall back down under the standards. As long as they're smaller than Mike O'Hearn, they're smaller than Mike Rashid, they can use a bit of gear, claim natural, and they're going to get a big following. They're going to get a big following because, well, they just obtained that with hard work. They must really know a lot about supplementation, training, nutrition, because they obtained that look totally natural, and they'll claim natural. And because they're smaller and weaker than the guys who admit to using hefty doses of gear, that will allow people who use just a modest amount, moderate amount, maybe even high amounts of different anabolic substances, it will allow them to claim natural and build a big following. As long as they have that look and they sound like they know what they're talking about, or they're just flashy and show off, they don't even have to really sound like they know what they're talking about. They will develop a following purely by claiming natural and using modest amounts of Trenbolone and Anabar and stuff, right? It can totally be done, and it is done all the time. But people will swear up and down and defend their natural status because they're like, well, it's just hard work. And it's that hope deep down that they can obtain that look themselves if they just follow this person's stuff. So they'll get a following of people who don't want their dreams shattered, who will defend that person's natural status. And we see it all the time in the industry. That's the norm in the industry. The majority of guys who are using moderate amounts of drugs claim natural. And they have to. And it allows them to build a big following because, again, playing on people's hopes and dreams, playing on their delusions and their desires, that, man, they can get that look without sticking a needle in their body, without side effects, if they're just willing to put in the work. You're playing on that. And it's putting out bait. Step number 3, start a shitty supplement company. Start a shitty supplement company. And people say, well, what do you mean a shitty? Well, they're all shitty. Even the best ones out there produce a lot of products that are garbage, spiked with drugs, stuff that doesn't work. It's all advertising and marketing. But look how many of these other smaller people, YouTube channels, Instagram people, everything else, then start their own little supplement company, put a flashy label on there, and then claim that's part of their secret to how they look. And besides, once you develop a following, it doesn't matter whether it's YouTube. YouTube, you can get good money in and of itself. A place like Instagram and everything, there's no real money. But people can still double down. You know why? Because they develop a following, and sure, they're selling the same shitty whey protein that gives you gas and everything else that everyone else sells. But because it's someone people follow and love, it's got their name on it. Got their name on it. Same thing, they can develop a pre-workout. This is my pre-workout. This is my secret. This is how I train so hard with the intensity that I have to get this natural, shredded, full, round, ripped look. This is how I do it, this pre-workout. And you know, they just develop the same shitty pre-workout mix as everyone else does and maybe change one little ratio in the proprietary blend so that they're not nailed for a copyright. Just spike a bunch of caffeine in it and beta-alanine and whatever else. You got a pre-workout. You know, they can throw together these really cheap mixes, and companies will mix it up for them because they have a name. And honestly, half the time, guys, it's the same shit. There can be 10 different ones of these people with their own product line, all being made by the same company. Like Smart Powders does that all the time. That's a company that will make stuff for everyone's little line for them. Tiger Fitness will do it for you. As long as you got a following and you can sell it, they're just mixing the same shit into everyone's stuff. It doesn't matter. Not going to be a real difference, but it's their line. They can sell that product. All right, step 4, dollars. And of course there's going to be dollars because you're going to get your supplement sales. You're going to get all your ads off YouTube. You're going to get all your merchandise sale. There's money in this. Like, there are people out there who use this strategy to get to a 6-figure income. Yeah, it's totally dishonest, but let's be honest here. Most of the people who are coming into the iron game, who are young, they're naive, they're easy prey. They're easy targets, and they will buy this shit. They will buy stupid-ass t-shirts from some guy who claims to be natty, who looks how they think they should look natural, who they look up to, who they find motivational because, hey, now he's making money, he's doing well, he's successful, he's driving a nice new car, bought a new place, he's got girls around him, he's living the life they want. They'll buy his merchandise because that's their hero, and he's done it all natural just through hard work. And look at how his life has gone. And people will actually buy merchandise just because they see someone living the life that they want, that they throw their name on shit. People will buy a fucking coffee cup, they'll buy a t-shirt. It doesn't even have to have a cool slogan. I mean, sometimes a lot of the shirts are funny, they are cool, they're legitimately good shirts in their own right. But a lot of times they aren't. But you know, it could just have a slogan that person uses and people will buy that shit. It's a really interesting phenomenon. It's really interesting. But this is how this works. I mean, this has been, for a while, the textbook model that people who don't want to work that hard, they don't want to have to find a way to put out really good information, really good content, anything else. This is how they make it in the online fitness world. It's take steroids, claim natty, start a shitty supplement company, and then profit. Profit. The dollars roll in. You know, and obviously people have to have some starter money in a different job to get started, but this method has been used by dozens of people now, and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that it still works, and I'm shocked that it still works. I just sit back in awe. I figured after the first dozen or so that these just would quit working. But there's always a new batch of dumbass 18 to 20-year-old kids who don't know any better. And I mean, I'm not really picking on those guys. All of us, the older guys, we were that young and stupid at one time too. We were that fucking stupid. All of us were. That's the real world. Not all of us, a few were. And a lot of respect for those guys who aren't that stupid, who managed to get through all this without falling for the bullshit. But they need to understand you guys are the exception to the rule, not the norm. All your bros are that stupid. You're just lucky you were born smarter than other people, or you had some life experiences at a young age that wised you up. But this shit works, and it's ridiculous that it works, but it works. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.